Welcome back, Focus Learners, to another explainer. Today, we're diving into an absolute legal thriller straight out of the Constitutional Court of South Africa. It's the case of P. Veerasamy versus Engen Refinery, and it's a story that asks some seriously fundamental questions about what happens when our expectation of privacy totally collides with the reality of the workplace.
So imagine this. If your employer uses a secretly recorded tape to fire you, does that violate your constitutional rights? South Africa's highest court had a pretty surprising answer to this exact scenario. Just put yourself in those shoes for a second. You're at work, you have a private conversation, and suddenly, boom, it's weaponized against you. Does the Constitution step in to protect you, or does the employer have the absolute ultimate right to gather evidence however they see fit? Okay, let's dive into this with part 1. A 20-year career ends. 20. Mr. Veerasamy wasn't just some new hire who made a clumsy rookie mistake. He had spent over 20 long years working at Engen Refinery. That's 2 whole decades of his life, dedicated to a single employer, right up until one pivotal incident just brought the whole thing crashing down. On September 22, 1997, that impressive 20-year run came to a screeching halt. He was dismissed for gross misconduct. The specific charge? Soliciting and receiving car sound equipment from one of Engen Refinery's contractors. Taking that equipment was strictly against company policy, and well, it cost him his job. That brings us to Section 2, the secret tape recording. Now, before we get to the actual evidence, we kind of need to understand the legal battlefield here. Whenever there's a labor dispute in South Africa, like someone claiming they were unfairly dismissed, the very first step is heading to the CCMA. That's the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation, and Arbitration. Veerasamy went straight there, desperately arguing that his dismissal was completely unfair. Now, what's really interesting about this showdown is the incredible clash of fundamental rights at play during that hearing. On one side, you've got the employee's right to privacy, but on the other side, the employer's right to prove misconduct. These two heavy-hitting concepts just collided head-on, setting the stage for an absolute massive legal battle. And here is the exact spark that ignited that whole collision, the controversial evidence itself. Engen Refinery brought forward a privately made tape recording of a telephone conversation between Veerasamy and that contractor. We're talking about a secret tape where they explicitly discussed the supply of that car sound equipment. And guess what? The CCMA admitted this tape into evidence. Based on what they heard on that recording, they ruled that Veerasamy's dismissal was in fact totally fair. Which leads us to Section 3, climbing the legal ladder. Veerasamy was, as you can imagine, deeply dissatisfied with the CCMA's decision, and he was absolutely not going down without a fight. Point 1 on our timeline, the CCMA upholds his dismissal. So for point 2, he escalates things to the labor court, but they dismissed his application with costs. Point 3, still refusing to give up, he petitions the labor appeal court. Denied again, they refused him leave to appeal. So finally, at point 4, completely out of standard options, he goes for a Hail Mary and seeks direct access to the highest court in the land, the Constitutional Court of South Africa. Let's move into Section 4, the constitutional privacy question. Let's break down exactly what Veerasamy argued when he finally got to stand before the Constitutional Court. First, he claimed that by admitting that secret tape recording, the CCMA directly infringed upon his fundamental constitutional right to privacy. Second, because of that severe infringement, the CCMA's decision had to be completely thrown out. And third, as for his remedy, he demanded to either be reinstated at Engen Refinery or for the whole matter to be sent back to the CCMA for a completely fresh hearing. And it's crucial to note here, he sought absolutely no other relief. So, we arrive at the million-dollar question, right? Did the tape actually violate his constitutional rights? Was this secretly made recording such a massive breach of fundamental privacy that it demands the whole case be tossed out? You can really feel the tension building here. Let's move to Section 5, the court's pragmatic twist, and see how this builds to a surprising climax. Justice Engen, writing for a unanimous court, delivered a judgment that honestly nobody really saw coming. It's the perfect legal plot twist. She wrote, "If we disregard completely the tape-recorded evidence, there can nevertheless be no doubt that the remaining evidence established conclusively that the dismissal of the applicant was not unfair." Wow, did you catch that? the court completely sidestepped the privacy issue. Direct access was flat out refused. The court expressly refrained from even commenting on whether that whole constitutional privacy challenge had any merit whatsoever. Why? Because even if that tape was a massive, egregious violation of his privacy, Engen Refinery had provided so much other overwhelming evidence that the final result, the dismissal, was still perfectly fair. The court basically said, hey, there's no basis to order a reinstatement or a rehearing anyway, so we're just not going to touch it. So, the crucial point is, Section 6, why this case matters. So, what's the big takeaway from Mr. Veerasamy's 20-year career ending right at the steps of the Constitutional Court? Really, it comes down to a pretty harsh contrast: theoretical constitutional rights versus practical court reality. You see, the court is driven by the interests of justice. You might have this fascinating, totally groundbreaking constitutional argument about workplace privacy, but courts are incredibly practical institutions. If tossing out that one piece of controversial evidence doesn't actually change the fact that you clearly broke company policy based on all the other evidence, the court just won't intervene. They are definitely not in the business of handing out empty victories. Which leaves us with a pretty lingering thought. If all that other evidence wasn't there, how would the court have actually ruled on the tape? Because they managed to sidestep it, we honestly still don't officially know from this specific judgment. And it forces us to ask a really difficult question. In our modern digital workplace, where literally every call, email, and message can potentially be tracked or recorded, is your privacy ever truly guaranteed? Definitely something to think about the next time you pick up the phone at the office. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I hope you found this breakdown as captivating as I did, and I'll catch you on the next one.